Life is unpredictable, but how you prepare for the unexpected shouldn't be. Take ownership of your life planning with Policy Genius to help your loved ones have a financial safety net in case something happens to you. Whether to cover debts and routine expenses or even invest the money and earn interest over time. With Policy Genius, finding and buying life insurance is simple. You can compare quotes from top insurers and could find coverage that fits your needs and your budget. Plus, they offer life insurance policies starting at just $276 a year for $1 million in coverage. It's an easy way to feel good about and plan for the future. No wonder Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. Don't wait for life to make other plans. Protect your family today. Head to PolicyGenius.com to compare top-rated life insurance policies, get your lowest quote, and make a smart move in under 10 minutes. That's PolicyGenius.com.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. So we made it to Labor Day weekend. Woo! Interesting. When I grew up, Labor Day weekend was the end of the summer, and then you would start school the day after Labor Day weekend. And I hated that because I hated the summer. I hated being home. I liked school. I was a geek. I get that, but I was bored. But I've just always associated Labor Day weekend as, all right, the summer is ending. We're going to start now moving into the fall. We're going to start getting into Halloween and then Thanksgiving, and then we're going to go into winter and Christmas. And I just love, probably my favorite time of year is the fall. There was a little poll that was, that Microsoft Bing does, which you prefer, spring or fall. And hands down, people preferred the fall. For me, I think spring allergies are pretty tough, but for the fall, you got asthma, you have, cough and colds and COVID and flu season starts soon. I don't care. I prefer the fall. But Labor Day weekend, because people are taking this day off, it's a federal holiday established back in 1894. It sadly is the holiday with the second highest number of fatal traffic accidents. I think Memorial Day is number one. And so, as a physician, I always get a little bit nervous because I think people are going to be doing stupid. They say a record number of Americans are expected to fly this weekend, 17.4 million. This means overall travel is up 9% from the previous year. But interestingly, in terms of driving, even though gas prices have dropped, they expect maybe fewer people driving, even though we're still going to be in the millions. But good news is they are expecting fewer traffic fatalities. Their estimate is 424 deaths this weekend is going to happen from traffic accident fatalities, which is 7% decrease from last year. So I don't want to see anybody die. But they are expecting the numbers to hopefully drop. Just I don't want to see 424 deaths. So, Labor Day weekend, we're supposed to be kind of, taking that break. I'm not. I'm working. I always do. Unfortunately, there's so much to do. I got to take my mom out for her birthday. It's a busy day, but that's okay. That's okay. I like keeping busy, but I do. I want to get a little sun. I want to feel like I'm enjoying the weekend. So understand that heat illness, for some of us, we're still living in 100-degree heat. The summer is not over. Labor Day weekend, you would think would be, the start of the fall. For some of us, it's still very hot, very humid. Sunscreen with an SPF of 30 or greater should be applied every 15 to 30 minutes prior to going outside and reapplied every 2 hours or more if you're swimming. Now, how many of you put your sunscreen on 30 minutes before you go outside? I don't. I'm putting my sunscreen on while I'm getting out of the car. No, because apparently it's got to soak in. And as a doctor, that does kind of give me I kind of get a little the heebie-jeebies, if that's a word I could use. Want to know where that term came from? Where I get that I don't want my skin soaking in chemicals, but I got to tell you, when I use sunblock, yeah, I protect my skin, and I get fewer of these dysplastic moles and pre-skin cancers that I've gotten. So we doctors recommend sunscreen, but even better, I like those sun shirts or those swim shirts that are thin. And mine is like an aqua blue, so you could see me. Well, no, you can't see me in the water. Yeah, maybe that's not good. Maybe I need to get a different color. But, have something bright like yellow or orange so people can see you if you're at the beach, but also where it's long enough to protect your skin. Avoid excessive alcohol. I understand many of you do not have to work this weekend, and you do not expect your boss to call you because it's Labor Day weekend. Still avoid excessive alcohol. Accelerates dehydration, increases your risk of injuries, not to mention a lot of these fatalities that we are concerned about, we think happen because people are drinking. The heat illness. We've talked about heat illness throughout the summer. Mild heat illness where you get sweaty, nausea, cramps. Severe heat illness, dizziness, vomiting, seizures, loss of consciousness, and then it could go into heat stroke. Young children and elderly individuals are very vulnerable. So if they sit there quiet, don't think, whew, good, mother-in-law hasn't said anything for 30 minutes. Check on them because it's probably too hot. Even if you're in the shade on a beach, it could still be too hot. If your in-laws or if you take diuretics, vasodilators, beta blockers, antidepressants, these things could also make you more vulnerable to heat stroke. Now, grill safety. I cannot talk to my husband about the grill. Even though I like to grill and I like to use the grill, that's his thing. And I get it. But some guy caught himself on fire, and I'm sure this has happened multiple times, because he sprayed the sunscreen all over his bare chest, wanting to make it look all ripped and glistening for the babes. Then he goes over to the grill. This was back in 2012, and then he catches fire. He sustained multiple second-degree burns. Sunscreen may be flammable. So I would not do spray on. I would do a lotion. And again, I would apply it before, and I wouldn't stand too close to the grill. Keep the grill outdoors. Get it away from low roofing, branches, trees. Watch the kids and the pets. They all want to go up to the barbecue and see what's going on. And if you have to go pee, assign someone to watch the grill. Do not add lighter fluid to coals that are already lit. I know everybody wants to show the kids how big a fire they can make. Don't do that. And if somebody does catch fire, have them stop, drop, and roll on the ground until the flames expire while somebody else is calling 911. Remove any jewelry or tight clothes, because if you do burn yourself or they burn themselves, they're going to start to swell. So you got to take off any jewelry, etc., because that's going to have to get cut off. If you do burn yourself, cold water, run it under cold water for about 10 to 20 minutes, etc. Water safety, we've talked about this. Make sure you're in the pool with the kids. All kids need to be arm reach. Do not just let them, just think somebody's watching them, especially if they're drinking, a spiked tea or something like that. Use life vests if you're boating. Never swim alone. Make sure you allow extra time on the road. I understand there's a barbecue for people to get to. Expect delays. And have a fun weekend. It's going to be a good one. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
everyone, Dr. Daliah here. As you know, blood banks across the country have declared critically low supplies. In response to this, governors have united for National Blood Donation Week. September 1st through the 7th is National Blood Donation Week, with September 4th National Blood Donation Day. And we are hoping this encourages millions of Americans to donate blood. When crisis strikes, the blood needs to be in the hospitals ready to go. But remember, the units need to be processed days before. And thousands of units of blood are already being used by hospitals on a regular daily basis. So blood supplies need to be prepared and delivered year-round. If you can't donate blood, don't worry. Please host a drive or even spread the word. It all saves lives. You could sign up to donate blood or host a drive at drdaliah.com. Follow the link to National Blood Donation Week. That's drdaliah.com. Remember, 1 pint of blood could save 3 lives. Imagine what the whole country could do.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So many of us saw clips of that video that the Minneapolis school shooter did, Robin Westman, and she or he, however they were currently identifying, they had some major psychoses and delusions and some major mental illness. Talking about how the kids deserve it, hating kids, hating Jews, hating Trump, labeling his guns, putting smiley faces at the end of the barrels. I mean, just a really sick individual. But obviously, officials want to really hone in on what was the motive. I mean, this person was walking around feeling like this, spending weeks, if not months or years, planning, idolizing other school shooters. What made that person leave that day to go to Annunciation Catholic school and church and then gun down individuals? So we're being told now that he might have broken up with a romantic partner before this happened. So according to, I guess, the killer's father, there was a significant partner that Robin Westman had, but the relationship recently ended. And the killer had been staying with a friend in the aftermath of the breakup. Now, I would love to get this friend interviewed to see, didn't that person see all the guns and weaponry and because he was in his room and he had all the, in the video, and all the guns were laid out and his closet was mostly black shirts, and he didn't really give us too much of a look with the room. But it'd be interesting to see if the friend who had the spare bedroom took a gander, took a look in there. So Westman had fired 116 rifle rounds through stained glass windows at Annunciation Church in Minneapolis. He tried to barricade the doors so people couldn't leave. Thank God the doors were locked on the inside because he could have gone in and done more damage. So he only could work through the windows. But still, sadly, he was able to kill two children, ages 8 and 10, leaving 18 or 19 others injured. But, looking at these hate-filled writings and manifesto and all that, the breakup, unfortunately, is sadly a impetus for somebody to act on their mental illness and to act on the crimes that they might be planning. And this is what makes things so scary. I think there was a doctor who was killed in the parking lot of the hospital she worked at by her ex, whom she just broke up with. You see domestic violence, people fearful of leaving who they're with because if they break up with them, they'll get attacked. This rejection, and we've talked about this many times on the show, is one of the most dangerous times for anybody because that person can then choose to act out on that rejection. That Roanoke news news station worker employee who was fired, he gets fired, so he decides to gun down a reporter and the videographer, the photographer, while they were on a live interview as his response to getting fired, blaming them. And then he started to shoot the person that was being interviewed. So it might even be not even be targeted. It might just, people might decide to just take everybody with them. And this rejection issue, it's not easy to be rejected. I've been rejected. I've been dumped. It's not fun. It's not easy. But we hear of students killing themselves because they get rejected and they can't get into a medical school or law school. Or we need to build up a better resilience to rejection. We need to get used to failure. And I'm not saying that would have prevented this attack, but we keep seeing a common thread. Somebody getting rejected, somebody getting dumped, somebody getting fired. And then they decide to just go, berserk and get all criminal and deadly and when I was younger, I did really well in school. But when you lost in a sport, when you lost in a team, you lost. The winner got something, you lost. And when you lost, you grouped together with the other people who lost, and you said, we're going to do a better job next time, right? Whether it's the next game or tournament or meet or whatever, or playing dodgeball in class. And, when you lose enough, right, you kind of learn to deal with it. It's funny. I take one of my friend's moms to bingo. She's in her 90s. And we've only won a handful of times, but in 3 years, we've probably lost 95% of the time. And she looks at me and she goes, you don't look upset when we lose. I go, because we're so good at it. We are the best losers in this bingo hall. Look at us. We're pretty good. I mean, we are the best of the losers. She's like, yeah, we are. And I'm not saying that's going to make everybody feel better, but, you can't be successful if you don't fail. If I hadn't gotten dumped by all those guys, I would have never been with Corey, my husband. Thank God I got dumped. We have to teach people, and we have to psychologically go back to the basics. Instead, it's all, you know what, you're going to win a trophy, even though you didn't win. You're going to get an honorable mention. You're going to get something because we don't want you to cry. We don't want, and I think, listen, you get to the Super Bowl, that's huge. But you don't win the Super Bowl, you don't get a ring. That's what makes that Super Bowl ring and win so special. If you ain't first, you last, if I could quote Talladega Nights. But that's okay. Sometimes not everybody's going to be number one. And not everybody is going to find somebody and then be with them the rest of their lives. Now, sadly, rejections are brutal. When people get fired on Zoom calls, when people fight saying, I don't like you, you smell, you're ugly, you're this, you're that. And as a physician, I had people in my office bawling because they were cheated on or they were dumped. And I had to explain to them that whatever the idiot said to you doesn't mean there's accuracy in it. Now, if you get dumped because you cheated, well, yeah, we might need to relook at, loyalty and fidelity. But if they cheated on you and then they're dumping you and they're making you feel, very insecure, who says they're a scholar on the subject? Who said they, that they have any accuracy or validity to what they're saying? But we just don't spend that time. Anytime my kids lost, whether it was a game, whether it was a meet, whether they failed a test, I'm like, okay, let's look at it and see what happened. No one's in trouble. Yeah, it sucked that you lost, but this loss is going to turn into a win. Winners learn from their losses. So let's learn from this. What happened? What went bad? But most people don't take the time, and I get it. A lot of us want to sit and stew. Every time I got dumped, did I want to sit there and go, well, how could I have been a better girlfriend? No. It sucked, but I had to move on. I had to work. I had to do other things. If somebody has mental illness and they obsess over things, like this guy, Robin Westman, or a girl, obsessing on his hatred of Jews and blacks and kids and Trump and everybody else that he hated, Catholics, you're not going to be able to talk a lot of sense into that person. You're not going to be able to use logic. But unfortunately, being, dumped and rejected is huge. He wrote about tired of being trans, or she said that she had been brainwashed. She said, I only keep the long hair because it's pretty much my last shred of being trans. I am tired of being trans. She says, I wish I never brainwashed myself. I can't cut my hair now, and it would be an embarrassing defeat, and it might be a concerning change of character that could get me reported. So, we're going to be obviously, looking further into all this crap they wrote. But, individuals who struggle this psychotically are not good to be around when they're dumped. 1-877 Doc Dali.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I don't know much about the Secret Service laws, but what I do know is it was established in the 60s, and I thought it would have been established even probably before, but I think there was an actual law that was established in the 60s where presidents and their families get lifetime protection. Vice president will get 6 months of protection after they leave office. So when I heard this headline, that Kamala Harris's Secret Service detail has been canceled. And people say, look at what Trump's doing to her. I kind of took a double take going, she still gets Secret Service detail? I thought that ends 6 months after they leave office. And she's not necessarily running for office, because when you run for office, you get protection as well. So then I was confused by that. So I think a lot of us were. Apparently what happened was she was supposed to run out of her Secret Service protection July 21, because 6 months after she left office, January 20th, okay. So July 21, no Secret Service. But Biden, or whoever handled the auto pen, which makes you kind of wonder if she was, the one running the auto pen, extended the Secret Service by another year. Now, according to CNN, her protection had been extended for an additional year via directive, not made public until now, signed by then President Joe Biden shortly before leaving office. Now, that's according to multiple people familiar with the undisclosed arrangement. Now, I guess Trump found out, and he wrote a memo for the Secretary of Homeland Security. The Homeland Security Department can extend somebody's Secret Service if there's extenuating circumstances. So even though the Secret Service detail for vice presidents is 6 months, if, let's say, Kamala Harris has had attempts on her life, or she's doing work, for the government that does need protection, the Homeland Security can extend that if needed. But there's this year extra extension. I mean, it's almost like Biden before he left office. Well, let's just pardon everybody. Let's just pardon just in case Adam Schiff is going to get in trouble for something. Why? What did he do? Let's pardon the family. Let's just pardon everybody, and let's just give them extra protection. Now, President Biden's family does get protection. That's part of the law, and they should. Former presidents should have protection for life. I agree with that. But what about the vice president? So Trump wrote the Secretary of Homeland Security and says, you are hereby authorized to discontinue any security-related procedures previously authorized by executive memorandum beyond those required by law for the following individual, and effective September 1, 2025, former Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, she's supposed to be going now on a high-profile book tour, a memoir of her presidential campaign. And so now they're saying that's thrown in disarray. But our tax dollars aren't supposed to be going for that, unless is that something that people want. So my question to you is, should vice presidents have more Secret Service security longer than 6 months? This day and age, we do have, I think, more crime. I think we have a higher amount of people with very severe mental illness. Providing for your own security is very expensive. But my concern with that is, if we have to provide Secret Service detail for a vice president, I think there's more people that have issues with the Secretary of State or the Speaker of the House or the Department of Treasury, which means all of them need protection. I mean, you know how many people Nancy Pelosi ticked off? So how long after people leave office should they have protection by the government? I don't think there's enough money to provide that sort of detail and protection. But I got to tell you, I would worry if I served at that high in office and not have protection for longer. Now, Kamala Harris is rich. J.D. Vance is rich. So they should be able to, not to mention with the book tours and the speaking events, they should be able to make the money to provide for their security. But not everybody can, afford their own security. I just don't think it needs to be on taxpayers, though. So if the law is 6 months, you keep it 6 months. if Biden decided to, you know what, I'm going to extend this, I think President Trump does have a right. Now, the Kamala Harris is now starting to work on, I think, her 2028 comeback. People say she's not. She's going to say no. She's not running. She's not running. They all do that because she doesn't want to have she doesn't want to have people beat up on her while she's trying to make some money and while she's trying to promote her book. So she and you notice the media fall for that. If you say I'm not running, look how they left Michelle Obama alone. They even left Hillary Clinton alone. Once they said I'm not running again, but as soon as they go I'm running again, then everybody's on top of them. So, if I was going to run again for office, I would, not me personally, but if I was Kamala Harris, I would wait till the last minute. The Kamala Harris issue is a tricky one. I am very glad she didn't win. I have not seen enough in her career to think that she would be a more effective commander-in-chief than our current president. But I do also, being devil's advocate, understand that when you're vice president, you get sidelined. If I was vice president, I would probably not last that long because if you told me to go to the border and be border czar, or if you told me to be border czar, I would be at the border that day. I would be meeting with all the border officials and customs and ICE and everybody who needs to meet with me. I would get a list of what they need, go back to the president and demand this gets done. And then if it doesn't, it looks like it's on me. Have you guys ever had a job where somebody put you in charge of something and then your boss limited you? So now your name is on it, but it's destined to fail. So they put your name on it so that they wouldn't get in trouble for failing. So I was put in that position, actually. And I didn't want the people I was working with because they would say, can we do this? Can we do this? So I would respond, say, I love the idea. In fact, I think we should do this. This is what I think we should do. Let me go take this to the higher up. And I'll let you know what, what we can do. And I got to tell you, the higher ups did not like that at all. They wanted it to be on me that it didn't happen. And then when they said, no, we're not doing that. No, they could just, like it or lump it. I went back saying I was unsuccessful at getting, the permission for us to move forward on that idea. I did not want to take the blame. Hell no. But unfortunately, that's not how things work in the government. So I would never do well as a vice president because I would say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Although working for Trump, he's usually coming up with the ideas. So there's so much he's doing. I don't even think there would be time for my ideas. So, you're going to see the media really twist this as Trump wants her to get assassinated. And so he's pulling away her security listen, 24/7 Secret Service, if we want to change the law saying we have to extend it over 6 months, that has to be, I guess, approved through Congress. But then what about the Speaker of the House? What about the Senate Majority Leader? I'm sure they get threats too. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. there's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot's Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot's Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So when your child was sick, we would tell you to alternate Tylenol and ibuprofen, where you could take some children's Motrin, and then a few hours later you could take Tylenol, and then a few hours later you could go back to Motrin, because Tylenol you could take every 4 to 6 hours, Motrin you could take every 4 to 6 hours, so you could do one or the other every few hours. I didn't necessarily like giving that advice too much, because if the child is in pain, like abdominal pain, I want to know about the pain level, and I want you to bring that child in. I don't want you to try to mask the pain with Tylenol or ibuprofen, so I'd like to know before. And once I know, okay, well, this is something that's, can be treated. Also, ibuprofen could affect the stomach. Too much Tylenol could affect the liver. And many parents had asked, why can't I just take Tylenol and Motrin at the same time? Well, because Motrin can also, or naproxen, or ibuprofen, or these NSAIDs like naproxen and ibuprofen, can affect the liver. So if you're taking Tylenol and that at the same time, which now there's medications that combine the two, it's an interesting thought if you're able to lower the dosing of both pills. So let's say you're taking a 500 milligram Tylenol, and then you're taking 800 milligrams of ibuprofen. What if you bring that down and you're taking 250 milligrams of Tylenol with 400 milligrams of ibuprofen? Will that provide some better pain relief? Well, studies are mixed. Some patients love the combo, some don't. But now we're being told that we might need to be careful, because these two most common over-the-counter painkillers, acetaminophen and Tylenol, or ibuprofen and Advil, may have an unexpected role in causing antibiotic resistance. Researchers at the University of South Australia conducted lab tests with E. coli and ciprofloxacin. So ciprofloxacin is a common antibiotic we use for UTIs. I think it's overused. I don't think many people have UTIs, but everybody feels better. Even I do. I take one Cipro, I feel better right away. But unfortunately, some people might be taking it when they don't actually have an infection. And with all the overuse and overprescribing, we start to see resistance. But interestingly, these researchers found that if you used ibuprofen and paracetamol, which is the generic name for Tylenol in Australia, it not only drove the antibiotic resistance when used individually, but the antibiotic resistance even soared higher when you use them in combo. According to Fox News senior medical analyst Dr. Mark Siegel, he said it is well known that overuse of antibiotics leads to resistance. And so, but now that we're seeing anti-inflammatories and Tylenol, so they said when the E. coli was exposed to ciprofloxacin alongside ibuprofen and paracetamol, both alone or combined, it increased genetic mutations in the bacteria. Now, you would think, well, great. let's mutate the sucker so it dies off and we don't need the antibiotic. But that's not what what it did. It said the mutations made E. coli highly resistant to ciprofloxacin and other types of antibiotics. So other medications you're taking can affect, which is kind of common sense, medicines that you're taking and their efficacy. And so when you have a child who, let's say, has a mild fever, do we really need to be throwing at them Tylenol and Motrin? If that mild fever is helping fight off, that's why you have a fever, because your body is trying to fight off the infection. If it's mild and not looking like it's going to spike quickly, because a fever that spikes quickly could induce a febrile seizure. But if they have a cold, it's been established they don't have anything bacterial or nothing like flu or COVID, and they have a mild fever, we don't have to keep throwing Tylenol and Motrin at them. If they're not having pain from the strep throat or ear infection anymore, do they need Tylenol or Motrin? Yeah, I had a patient the other day say that his child just finished the antibiotics, the 10-day course of antibiotics the doctor gave them. When can they stop the Tylenol and Motrin? I'm like, what? Why were they taking the Tylenol and Motrin? Were they in pain? No. But we thought we were supposed to do that because the doctor said alternate Tylenol and Motrin. I'm like, what? So 10 days that child was taking extra medications they didn't need to? Plus, these antibiotics are designed to work with your body, and to work with, your body's immune system. When you suppress your immune system with these medications, you might be making it worse. Now, that being said, if your child has a high fever, not eating, getting dehydrated, we use these fever reducers for a reason. If your child is in pain, isn't sleeping, they're not going to improve and get better. So it's one of those, take 2 steps forward, 1 step back in order to, sometimes you do need to take a step back to be able to move forward. I hate to say it. One of the reasons why we used, codeine in cough syrups, which has now come out of favor because of people abusing it. But, 1 teaspoon of that, the patient sleeps well, isn't coughing the whole night, and doesn't wake up more inflamed. But now we're having coughs that last weeks. And it's not just because of COVID, but they keep coughing, and the more they cough, the more they inflame. And you wonder if 1 teaspoon, I remember with my kids, 1 teaspoon, even for me, that's all we needed. And then we threw out the bottle because, liquid medicine doesn't save. No sense. Sometimes, and not that I would ever recommend that, we don't recommend narcotics to suppress cough, but that's how these medicines came to be. A little bit of schnapps, that kind of stuff, because it would, a little bit would solve the problem fairly quickly or reduce symptoms so that somebody could, relax and sleep and then improve. So Tylenol and Motrin are being used for that. But we do have to ask the question, is it interfering with our healing process? And now, if these medications are causing drug resistance, that's a problem. So the population that these researchers aren't that concerned about is not the kids, but it's the people in elderly care facilities, assisted living, nursing homes, because these individuals are on PRN or standing orders for Tylenol or Motrin or things for pain. Now they get a UTI, which happens when you're older. They get on an antibiotic, and these other medications, if they are promoting resistance, no wonder we have so many drug-resistant bugs in these nursing homes. They say in 2019, drug-resistant bacteria were directly responsible for 1.27 million deaths and were associated with nearly 5 million deaths. Drug-resistant bacteria is some scary stuff. And we're also looking at drug-resistant viruses, too, and drug-resistant fungi. So our current thinking is, well, the bugs are getting smarter, and they're just on their own mutating to be stronger, which can happen. But also, is there something else we're doing that we shouldn't? In the olden days, you didn't take Tylenol and Motrin and the antibiotic. So we do need to study that. They say if this current trend continues, projections against these antibiotic-resistant related deaths could climb to 40 million in the next 25 years. There is nothing more scary to a patient, who walks in feeling like I'm going to get this fixed, being told the medicines aren't working and they won't work. You have a resistant bug. And the first thing the patient thinks is, okay, well, then let me drink some orange juice. Let me get some vegetables in me. So I'm telling you right now, get the vegetables in you now before you're sick. Okay, drink the orange juice. Don't be popping vitamin C pills, but, get the sleep, get the exercise, be in the proper weight, cut the smoking, cut the alcohol, because drug-resistant bacteria is coming for us, unfortunately. 1-877-DOC-Daliah.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.